In recent weeks, South Africa has seen a new wave of anti-immigrant protests, which have sometimes turned violent.
If we had followed the path of industrial development, our people would not have any cause to be in South Africa.
Some critics say foreigners, particularly those from other African countries, are being wrongly blamed for the country's economic problems.
South Africa is already on the decline because black people have taken over. The children of my classmates in 1976 are now the ones that are chasing away Nigerians from South Africa. It's a shame.
Protesters in South Africa have been saying, "Makwerekwere abahambe." Makwerekwere is a derogatory term for foreigners. Abahambe means let them leave.
What we are trying to do by focusing on just tax and ignoring the manufacturing aspect, we are trying to squeeze water from iron. Have clusters of factories assisted by government. Government should remove all the hurdles, all the bottlenecks. There are many different citizens from different countries that are in Nigeria. Nigeria is huge enough to absorb everybody. But what we need to do to be able to harness our capacity, we are not doing it. Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Caesar Osahene Iyayi. I am your advocate for the industrial development of Africa, a process that I continue to insist will begin from Nigeria. Today, let us talk about xenophobia. Before I talk about xenophobia, I want to give some guidelines. One, I am not a social critic. I am a solution provider. When I'm talking about xenophobia, I'm not talking about it so that you can blame South Africans. I'm not talking about xenophobia so that we can feel sorry for ourselves. I'm talking about xenophobia because it doesn't need to exist. I'm talking about xenophobia because if we had followed the path of industrial development, our people, our citizens, will not have any cause to be in South Africa, let alone them be chased out. I've seen some videos where they walk into the shop of Nigerians and other Africans and just urge them to get out, and they start looting. It doesn't have to be so.
Protesters in South Africa have been saying, "Makwerekwere abahambe." Makwerekwere is a derogatory term for foreigners. Abahambe means let them leave. Anti-migrant groups blame undocumented foreigners for problems in the country. In recent weeks, South Africa has seen a new wave of anti-immigrant protests, which have sometimes turned violent. Some critics say foreigners, particularly those from other African countries, are being wrongly blamed for the country's economic problems. Some foreigners say they are scared.
Why they are hating us? So that's a big issue. We love them. We give them a job. We never took any job from the South African as Ethiopians.
After a wave of anti-immigrant protests, several businesses owned by foreign nationals in Durban are closed.
Let me tell you something. In 1976, 77, when I was in secondary school, I and my classmates had South Africans that were with us in school because they were driven out of South Africa. From Namibia, from South Africans, they came here and Nigeria embraced them. Today, as I speak to you, there are many different citizens from different countries that are in Nigeria. Nigeria is huge enough to absorb everybody. But what we need to do to be able to harness our capacity, we are not doing it. Why do Nigerians and other black people run to South Africa? The reason is simple. White people, when they were in charge of South Africa, they made South Africa an industrialized country. They produce what they consume. They are into petrochemicals. They are into iron. They are into manufacturing. They do everything. They export finished products. They do not export commodities. Even their gold, they refine it. That is why Nigerians and other black people are rushing to South Africa. That is why they are fleeing to Europe. They pass through Sahara Desert, pass through Mediterranean, die in great numbers. Many of them are put in camps in North African countries because we here in Nigeria, what we ought to do to industrialize our country, we fail to do it. I am always talking about that because that is the solution. If we fail to do that, Nigeria is going to crumble. South Africa is already on the decline because black people have taken over. The children of my classmates in 1976 are now the ones that are chasing away Nigerians from South Africa. It's a shame. Like I said, I'm not blaming South Africans for taking that action. I'm not feeling sorry for ourselves, self-pity. No, what I'm talking about is that with the way Nigeria economy is being managed, unless we embrace the industrial development, industrial manufacturing that I have been always talking about and being ignored, Nigeria will disintegrate. Nigeria will crumble. And here are the facts. 1, Nigeria earns about 60 trillion naira from oil globally. But when the expatriates, the Shell, the Chevron, in their offshore commitment, factor in their cost of production, their cost of exploration, their cost of drilling, and their profits, they take 75% and we take 25%. And 25% of about 60 trillion naira will amount to about 14 to 15 trillion naira. That is all that we get from the oil and gas that we are shouting about. It is not enough to handle the responsibilities of government. So the other source is tax and import duties. That brings in about 24 trillion naira. So when you do the math, you see we are having about 36 trillion naira or so. However, our interest servicing amount, the amount to service the interest on the money that we borrowed, is about 34 trillion. So all the money that we earn from oil and we earn from taxes, you put them together, can only pay the interest, not the capital, the interest on the money that we borrowed. So every year, we are compelled to borrow money to run the country, both recurrent and capital expenditure. We cannot continue and survive in that way. There must be a solution. And that is where I come in. What I've heard so far about government is that, okay, we are going to form a new tax system, Nigerian Revenue Service, and they are going to make sure they tax everybody so we can raise enough money. That is part of the answer to some extent, but that is not the answer. Like I said before, what we are trying to do by focusing on just tax and ignoring the manufacturing aspect is that we are trying to squeeze water from iron. Our people, the Nigerian populace, majority of our people are earning below the poverty level. You may say, okay, you excuse them from taxes, but when you charge companies that produce what they consume, they end up paying the taxes indirectly. So their income is not rising, but the cost of living is rising, and they are being squeezed. That is why everybody is running away from Nigeria. However, if government were to pay attention to what I'm saying, if I tell you, oh, let us start manufacturing, without giving you the blueprint, to be as if I'm teasing you, I'm trying to make mockery of the system. Because I run factories, I know that the biggest problem that we have is electricity. I know that the gas pipeline that is transferring natural gas to generating plants and to other dedicated factories that are generating electricity, most of the time, the gas pipeline do not have gas in them. So, you cannot rely on our gas pipeline because we are not in charge of those gas pipelines. The gas pipeline that we have are developed by foreign companies, and their primary interest is how to make profit. It doesn't matter to them whether we get enough gas to feed our plant where we generate electricity. Most of the companies that are connected to the Escravos pipeline and other pipelines, they also have generators because it is not consistent. The gas supply is not consistent. So what do we do about that? I have a solution for that. Let me tell you this now. Nigeria has the largest gas reserve in Africa. Imo State has one of the largest gas reserves in Nigeria. And it is just about 25 kilometers from Owerri, less than 60 kilometers from Aba. Okay, I don't want us to get into the logistics of taking gas from the field there, 25 kilometers to Owerri. In the short run, that might be tedious. What I am proposing, that is the only answer, is that right at that field where you have the gas that is being exploited there now, at that gas field, let the Nigerian government come up with a formula where factories can generate power plants right there at that source, so that you have 24-hour supply of gas. You have a combined cycle gas plant right there where you have that gas. You negotiate with the foreign companies. We have the capacity to drill our own well. It belongs to us. If you want to get into industrial manufacturing, the way it is structured now, taking gas from the south to Lagos or to other destinations, where most of the time there is no gas in the pipeline, we will not be able to industrialize this country. Instead, let us start with industrial corridors, where you have so many gas fields. In Edo State, for example, at Obe, there's a large gas field right there. It's only about 85 kilometers from Benin City. So you can also set up factories right there in Obe. Don't bring the gas to Benin City. Don't generate power there and bring it to Benin City. Have clusters of factories sponsored, assisted by government. Government should remove all the hurdles, all the bottlenecks, all the conflict with communities, because we have a dream to have an industrialized country where you can add value to raw material. For example, natural gas, which is maintained CH4, 1 atom of carbon, 4 atom of hydrogen, is a feedstock. It doesn't only give you the capacity to be able to generate electricity. With that gas, you will be able to produce fertilizer. You'll be able to produce formaldehyde. You'll be able to produce resin. You'll be able to produce resin that you can use to make particle boards that we use in all our kitchen, in our sitting room, everywhere in Nigeria. Pharmaceutical. Are you aware that you make aspirin, paracetamol from natural gas? Are you aware of that? Are you aware that high blood pressure medications, some of them, like atenolol, like calcium channel blocker, like the hormone blocker, and many other pharmaceutical products are derived through chemistry from natural gas. So natural gas is not only serving as a source of energy to generate electricity, it is also serving as a source to make other finished products. So when you concentrate on selling natural gas, you are doing a disservice to our country. Because if you are able to produce fertilizer, for example, which is urea, you take the hydrogen in the methane, which is natural gas, and then you take nitrogen from the air. You put them together, you get ammonia. You add carbon dioxide through hot process, you produce urea, which can be used as fertilizer. You can produce ammonium nitrate. It's from there you get explosives, bombs, firecrackers that we use during the holiday. Christmas time now, we start shooting the firecrackers everywhere. It's from there you are selling gas on the cheap, when you can manufacture so many products that the value will increase exponentially when you have products that you can produce and even export and consume here. Companies that are doing that will now have the credible financial capacity to increase the salary of our workers. You now begin to build a middle class. The way it is now, companies that are selling commodities, cocoa, they can never increase the salary of their workers. Dangote is already in the right trajectory, but it's a monopoly. I thank God that he's producing diesel, he's producing aviation fuel, he's producing naphtha from crude oil. That is the stuff that used to make all the plastics. Everything you see inside your car that is rubber is from naphtha, from crude oil. The tire of your cars is from naphtha. It is only the tire for trucks that will use natural rubber to do. For cars, it's from naphtha. Imagine if in Nigeria we are now able to produce our own tires. Imagine how much we are going to save. Imagine if you have a factory at Obe or at that location in Imo State and every other section in the Niger Delta where you have gas in the quantum, and you now have factories that are working 24 hours. You bring in the machines, you bring in the power generating capacity for a combined cycle plant that can produce 24/7 electricity, and you bring in the machinery to produce various products. Do you know that just the solar phone you are holding in your hands is mostly silicon, quartz, sodium oxide, silicon oxide? It's available everywhere in Nigeria, mostly in Okpila. Are you aware that the glass that we're talking about is made from white sand, sharp sand? All you need is availability of uninterrupted electricity. Today, we concentrate all our energy on politics. That is where we get it wrong.